we're kind of talking about pollinators and the whole concept of nature. And we're kind of using this thing. You talked about the 80% of women being the growers across the global south as well. That's quite common as well. So we kind of see them as the margins or the edges. And we know in nature that is how the most innovative systems or the most diverse systems happen. So one thing for me that struck me is your fearlessness. So listen, this young lady, I'm telling you, like, you know, one minute she's on the dance floor, next minute she's in the parliament. I'm just like, it's incredible. And I recently got to find out a little bit more about your background. So do you mind if we just, like, the first thing that intrigued me was your story about your mum. And do you mind if I just was like, oh, your mum was calling you and you were like, I don't even know where my mum is half the time. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. But then you told me your mum is what we call having a disabled. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, she's totally blind. Yeah, she's totally blind, but she works all over the world. Yeah, last time I think when she called me, she was in Guyana. She's all over the place. Before that, she was in Rwanda. She organizes blind people to speak up for their rights all over the world. That's where I learned the importance of collective organizing because, my mom raised us totally blind, 5 children, and, fought to try and gain equality in society. She tried to work as a teacher and she was denied her teaching license because of being totally blind at one point in time and took that to court and then realized, that's how people claim their rights is by collectively organizing. So she started an organization, with the tagline that many people use, nothing without us, about us, that we need to be collectively organized as blind people to fight for disability rights. And so I kind of grew up her going around to little Louisiana town, organizing blind people and saying we got to fight for our rights. And it went side by side with the civil rights movement in America as well. I remember going to loads of demos, marches on Washington, conventions where it'd be a big hotel full of a couple thousand blind people, everybody going around with their canes, My mom sending me on missions all the time, But then, you realize the power of that because over my time, I've seen, attitudes change, training centers that she started and her organization started all across the country, teaching empowerment. That, what you believe in yourself, you can do, and then you transmit that to other people, you can achieve. And it just takes a lot of hard craft, a lot of hard belief, but also like a real relentless optimism that things can really change.
And I definitely see that within you. And that's why I wanted to kind of touch upon that because I didn't know that story. Like, I just see you as an incredible individual, but I didn't know that was part of one of your many influences that makes you who you are. Another one that was really interesting we touched upon was your story of your family, because when you first came, I don't think people realized how difficult it was for you when you first came to the UK and you actually didn't have a home, you didn't have a base. Do you mind if we kind of just touch upon?
Wow, yeah.
Okay. Because I think very often when people, I'll be honest, when people see you, they will just assume, okay, it's a very wealthy person, Asian background, because you're in parliament, you do that. They don't know. And I think sometimes we have a certain perception of people. Yeah. And so I was fascinated, not just because of your compassion and what you do, but also the story behind. And I think like the story of like, just maybe to touch on a little bit about your journey with your family, just to kind of just make you swept across it. But if you don't mind, if it's too emotional, that's fine. But I just think it's a fascinating, then you were foraging one point, you were living in a van or stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first moved here, my husband at the time was not able to get any employment. And so he was on benefits, public benefits. I was like 23 and I was pregnant with my first child. So I wanted to move over here. But in order to get a visa to get into the country, we had to sign a thing saying that we would have no recourse to public benefits. And I wasn't able to get any employment and I wanted to be with my daughter, raising her. And he only was able to get a job one day a week at a builder's merchants, got paid £17.50 for a day's work. So we were basically living on £17.50 a week. And we didn't want to try and be scroungers or anything like that. We wanted to be pretty independent. I wanted to raise my daughter close to nature. So we decided to move to a woodland and we built our own dwelling in the woods there.
She's such a gang. I'm just like, full of admiration. Like,
yeah, we built a little dwelling in the woods, and yeah, raised her without electricity. You know, this was pre-computer times and things, but I had a garden there, and I'd grow, you know, beetroot and different vegetables. Did a lot of foraging in the woods, you know, getting wild garlic and collecting herbs and things, and adding that to the diet. And then with the money that we had, buying bulk foods. And I tried to buy organic when I could, but getting potatoes, rice, beans, just real basic things, and then adding to that from the wild foods and the things we grew. And that was a real lesson to me in that I could give my daughter everything she needed, my time, my love, you know, warm shelter. We'd collect firewood and, you know, burn that to stay warm and still live on a really low income. So, you know, I went on to have my other 4 daughters, but we moved from there into a truck for a while, and we traveled from place to place, going to organic farms and working there and learning the skills in growing because I really enjoyed the growing, to think about the idea that we could become more self-sufficient and actually buy some land eventually. Then we moved to a community organic farm that was based on not using any fossil fuels. And that was a really great experience because, you know, I raised all 4 of my daughters there. At that point, the last 2 were born in this community. You know, not ever having any recourse to public benefits, but earning our living from a land-based livelihood. So we would press apples there and make apple juice, and I'd take the apples to market and the apple juice to market, and I'd make herbal products and take them to market and sell them. And that was what we raised our kids on. But I think, you know, they were raised with good values, and I think that was the most important thing to us. Now they're all grown. My oldest daughter's running the farm. You know, she went on to Oxford University. My second daughter just graduated medical school in Manchester, so she's working as a junior doctor in Winchester. My third one's at Wimbledon Arts College. Yeah.
okay, so that's the bit.
Hackney there.
Okay.
And my other one's just been visiting here up in Manchester studying politics and history. And, you know, what's amazing is that all 4 of them look back to their background. And you know, I think that focus on the healthy food, the fresh outdoors, the skills, you know, and just holding genuine love, you know, those are the values that really hold us together. And that's what peasant farmers do. And, you know, I see that in every indigenous culture around the world that, you know, it's not all about the money. It's about the access to the resources, to the land, the ability to provide your housing, the ability to support yourself that actually sustains us.
And I think to conclude, I think it's really interesting that we frame sustainability from a Western perspective, and it's all about the money that's coming into these projects and stuff. But actually, similar to, you know, I'm not indigenous in terms of actually an indigenous person, but made Project Gardens for 9 years. We had no money as well to establish it. So our approach was quite unique as a way to, and it actually reflects the global South, the majority of people in the world that don't have no money. So all these things you're talking about, the foraging, like we did skipping, you know, like going into dumpster diving, growing our own food, all these same things, using food as the basic to show people actually there is an alternative.